Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of the Magical Shit Show. Remembered the name this time.
Well
How
done.
are you doing today? Are we all okay? We good?
Yes, we're good. Thank you, Tamar.
Yeah, good. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to ask Claire to set the scene. We've had quite a lot of interesting energies this week. We've got a full moon. Is it a lunar eclipse tomorrow? We've had a whole load of planets in retrograde. And we've got Samhain next week, which a lot of people know, I guess, is Halloween, which is the thinning of the veil. So what has this meant, Claire? I think a lot of people have been out of sorts this week.
Well, they will be out of sorts this week and going into next week, because any kind of powerful phase like this doesn't just happen on the day that it's said to occur, which for interest purposes is tomorrow night at 9:15 p.m. is when the eclipse will actually happen. And a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse always happen in pairs. And with a lunar eclipse, what we're talking about is the fact that the Earth is getting in between the sun and the moon. And what this means, there's so many different levels to this, but what this means is the fact that it is shining, it's creating a shadow on the moon. That's why it feels like we can't see the moon for a bit. And when that happens, the moon represents our emotional well-being, our emotional health. So it is and it's in Taurus, so that's Earth. So there's a real kind of pull towards revealing the secrets, shining a light on our earthly part, which is where in the root we tend to hide our secrets and our energetic skeletons. So all the things that we have buried, conversations we haven't had, self-worth, values, all that kind of stuff, all the shadowy stuff is going to be lit up. And that's why people are feeling really triggered, really anxious. We've got Venus in Virgo, which makes people like more self-conscious, more anxious, more critical about perhaps their relationships they're in. Then we've got Jupiter in retrograde in Taurus, which is inviting a different response from possibly the normal response one might give to being stirred up emotionally and feel really kind of out of sorts and kind of, in my case, eat their way through the situation. So it's a call for a different response. So you've got that kind of happening, is in process at the moment. But this is ending a cycle that started, I don't know whether you guys are going to remember where you were on November the 19th, 2021. But that Scorpio Taurus.
We in lockdown?
Were we in lockdown?
Was that the winter lockdown? Or was that 20? No, it might have been 20.
Do you know what? I couldn't tell you.
No,
I don't think we were.
No.
I think we were.
I think that was 2020, wasn't it? We locked again after Christmas.
And then we did it at the beginning of 21 again.
Yeah.
Like a January one.
Okay. So something, whatever's happened in the last 2 years
is finishing.
It's like a 2-year cycle that's ending. Right. Okay. And is that for good and for bad? Or is it always clearing away negativity? Could it be either?
It's either, but it's kind of, it's around, because it's Taurus, it's around feelings of self-worth. So in the last couple of years, you may have had opportunities to increase your self-worth or been questioning your self-worth and be like, you know, why am I kind of, you know, not feeling as whole as I wish I felt? You may have moved home. You may have changed your home. It's resources. It's that kind of thing. You may have changed your job. It's kind of really practical things as well as this internal stuff. So it's kind of coming to the end of that kind of power up. And what it's asking us to do is look at, we're going to be experiencing these shadows anyway. So if you suddenly find someone gets in touch with you that you haven't heard of for a long time, and it suddenly stirs up loads of emotions, or something happens, a situation in your life, like something happened, I'll give you an example, to a couple of women I know in this local area. There's been a man that basically, with dogs, it's a dog walking scenario, has really threatened them and been really intimidating towards both of these women. And both of these women have both experienced domestic abuse. So to have this from a man is like really, really triggering, because it's kind of like triggering situations that they've had in their past that they've got through, but that's coming back right now. And it's to kind of bring it up, to look at it again, to try and understand the context of what was really the message in all of that, and to do things differently. So, you know, stand up against it, you know, understand kind of what the background of it is, find some compassion so you don't care anymore, you know, that kind of, does that make sense? That kind of vibe. It's really rough. It will be really rough for some people. It won't be really rough for others, as is always the case.
I think you said on one of your lives you were going out in nature because you were feeling all discombobulated. And did that help you? Is that
what I did? Yeah, spending time alone. And Taurus creates an environment for us wanting to kind of, you know, snuggle in, spend time alone, surround ourselves with just people we really, really care about. It's that kind of, you know, pulling it in. And
it's
yeah,
the time of year anyway, isn't it? Because Samhain and Halloween is about closing everything down for the winter and going inside and internalizing and shadow work and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of like,
it's perfect timing, and it's setting us up. And I've been doing a lot of work with people's nessus. Did I talk about that a couple of weeks ago?
you did.
Yeah, so people's nessus is in looking at their ancestral karma. And of course, Samhain is all about ancestral death head feast and kind of, you know, coming together with the ancestors and thanking them. And, you know, if you've got abuse patterns in your family line that you're clearing, you know, this might be quite a difficult Samhain, because you might not be feeling a lot of compassion and love towards these people. You might be feeling a bit of anger and a bit like, thanks a lot. But it's kind of like, you know, allowing whatever needs to come up under this lunar eclipse, come up, allowing yourself for it to go through you, bringing tears, bringing happiness. There's also an element of gratitude for all that you've experienced, if you could manage to feel that, because everything is important about balance. So, you know, always got to, for as many tears as you cry, you've got to put on as many smiles.
There's something about release as well. It's about what we can release and what we need to release, whether we want to or not sometimes. Philippa, I think you've got some ideas for the ways we can release.
Yes.
Ooh. Well, yes. I mean, for me, it comes down to movements, meditation, mindfulness, and breath work, of course. So I think you know, what Claire's talking about is fascinating, because this is the sort of emotional roller coaster I've been on this last week. And I don't know if it's because I was recovering from a cold, partly feeling a bit at a low ebb, but instinctively feeling that that I did want to sort of have a bit of alone time and be snuggling. You know, yesterday, for the first time in, I can't tell you how long, I just sat in the afternoon. I had an hour with no clients, and I sat in the afternoon and I put the television on, and I never do that, never, like, but never. And I just sat with the old blankie, you know, and just had some quiet time. My husband couldn't believe. He's like, "What are you doing?" Because I really never do stuff like that. But it is so fascinating how, you know, and I think what Claire says is true, that not everybody is going to be feeling that, you know, the effects, the influences. But what I've come to understand about myself is I'm definitely an empath. And, you know, so I am definitely, I feel these things. And so for people that feel these things, you know, you might feel that, you know, what can I do? And so releasing emotions, there's different ways we can do that. You could, you know, for some people, they feel like they need a good cry, and they go ahead and do it. That doesn't really work for me, but I would do movement and breath work. And so, you know, thinking about, and journaling, of course, and that's probably something, Tamar, that you could talk to, how to have a journaling practice. But movements for this time of year, because you're talking about Samhain, you're talking about the autumnal season now that we're well and truly in. And so it's that time of year where we were trying to create balance between, it's a bit more of a yin time of year, female energy, and so we want to do some things that are vigorous still, but more things that are relaxing and calming. And so, you know, still you want to do invigorating breath work. So a breath practice that's invigorating is called Kapalabhati. I always think of that little animal, you know, the mammal that
Vivara.
That's it, Capybara, yes. Anyway, Kapalabhati is the breath or breath of fire. And breath of fire really comes from the belly, deep within. And we use the diaphragm to generate quite a propulsive exhalation. And so nostril breathing is also something that's really good for this time of year. If we want to avoid those viruses that are all around us in the air, breathe through your nostrils, because you've got your filtration mechanism, the hairs lining the nostril cavities. You've got the mucosal layer that is moist, that will trap those viruses. And so breathing through your nostrils alone is a really healthy thing to do. And so this is breathing only through your nostrils. You would breathe, focus on the exhale. So it's a rapid exhalation using the belly. I'm going to point my camera, look at this. I'm pointing my camera here to my abdominal region. I've just got my hand here, so I know what's happening. And you can see that as I inhale, you know, my hand lifted, but the exhale is the focus, and it's a short, rapid. So you can see my belly moving there. And then I'm breathing principally out. So the inhale is just going to happen anyway. Breathe out. There you go. It's like a train leaving the station. And so you can do a few of those. And believe me, I practice this a lot. So it's not as easy as you might think. But it says it's good for cleansing your nostrils. You're not kidding. Have a tissue handy. Have a tissue handy if you're going to do that. So that's an energizing breath that we can give ourselves a lift with, because, you know, sometimes wallowing is not an option. You know, you've got a job to do, and you need to think, hang on, I need to shift whatever I'm feeling. So that's a way of shifting it. And then the balance to that is it could be the box breathing, or samavriti, which just means same length. It could be the box breathing or alternate nostril breathing. We're still on the nostrils here, aren't we, with alternate nostril breathing. Well, I did that, but actually what you do is this. So you've got you can stimulate your third eye, and then you've got a thumb and the fourth finger, and you can very easily block alternating nostrils. So you would inhale through your left. We'll do it together, shall we? Inhale through your left nostril, and then you plug both your nostrils like that, and hold your breath. Hold your breath. And then breathe out through the right nostril. And then we can take your time with this, and then breathe in again through the right nostril. Plug the nostril, hold your breath, and then breathe out through the left.
Oh, I like that.
I love this. So alternate nostril breathing really speaks to the different sides of the brain and creates a bit more balance between the two hemispheres. But the way of doing it is to do, again, to count. So we could count to 3 or 4. 4 is, I like 4. Breathe in on 4, hold your breath for 4, breathe out on 4. And then you can introduce a hold at the bottom where your lungs are empty. People have more trouble with that, holding the lungs empty. You know, the thought that where's the next breath coming from? Well, don't panic, because you will get the chance to breathe again. It's just that by holding the lungs empty, we really facilitate this oxygen exchange happening down at the bases of the lungs. And actually the lungs in Chinese medicine are the organ that we really want to enliven at this time of the year. The lungs are the place where we hold grief and sadness. So we want to sort of nourish that meridian, the lung meridian. And so breath work's a perfect way of doing that. And then the other meridian that we want to nourish, or energy channel, if you want to call it that, is the large intestine. And the large intestine, well, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? And coming back to where we began here with talking all things digestive, facilitating digestive flow, rotations really help with that. So if you think about the way, I'm going to point it down again, look, the way in which your in large intestine, it's this sort of shape, isn't it? It goes up, across and down, and it goes down on the left. So I guess if you're looking at the camera, this is your left, is it? Yeah, so it goes up on the right, across the top, down on the left, and then it exits the body to the anus, and that's how we this stuff exits us. So if you're going to do rotations, and in yoga we do rotations, and seated yoga, actually, you know, I did a training on chair yoga recently. So in a chair, you would twist to your right side. So I'll go this way because this is probably your right. And you can use a chair to help you to twist. So you can see I'm twisting around the level of the navel. And then you would just turn your head, look over your shoulder, twist first to the right, and then you can hold there and do a few breaths, and then twist to the left. So I'm trying to keep my seat still. I'm trying to let my bottom twist. I'm twisting at the waist. I'm taking hold of the chair, and then I'm turning my rib cage. So I'm using the chair to assist that movement, which you know, is a perfectly legitimate use of a chair. And yet you don't want to force anything that doesn't feel good. If it feels good, I mean, it feels really good to me to have that sort of stretch. But if it doesn't feel good for you, then just take it easy on yourself. And remember, go to the right first and then to the left. And that's facilitating this throughput through the large intestine. And so that's really great for digestion. And then the last thing is, you know, this restorative piece, the yin part of the puzzle. So one wonderful thing that I love to do, and I won't do this right now, but you can try this at home. Shuffle your bottom close to a wall and then put your legs up the wall. And so resting on your back with your feet up the wall, it's fabulous for lymphatic drainage. You know, if you get swelling in the ankles or anything, but it's really so relaxing. I can't even begin to tell you. I love lying with my legs up the wall, and so you can try that just for a few minutes at a time. The thing to remember is when you get up, you might feel a bit woozy because you've had your head down. And so take your time getting up. And the other thing is there are contraindications to all these things that we talk about. There are people for whom these things are not advisable. And so, you know, vigorous breath patterns, if you've got raised intracranial pressure, you would know if you had. You wouldn't want to do that. Similarly with putting your legs in the air. So, you know, there's always contraindications to all these things we talk about. So if you're in any doubt, seek out some advice from your medical practitioner and keep yourself safe. But for the most part, if there's, you know, if you're not seeing a doctor, if you feel healthy enough, then give it a go.
Would you recommend these as a daily practice, Philippa, or are these more occasional? Okay, as often as you can manage.
Yeah. So it actually says the recommendations are at this time of the year to move long and slow. So mindful movement practices, you know, people say to me, I did a retreat this summer. People came and they were going, oh, I couldn't do it for a whole day. And you're like, well, if you pitch it correctly, then you absolutely can. You know, you absolutely can. And we are designed to move. We should be moving. It's just modern life that stops us from doing this stuff. So you pace yourself, you take your time, and you mix and match, and you know, play to your strengths. So it's less vigorous movement than in the summertime, but definitely move every day. You're going to feel so much better for doing it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Philippa. I like when we have practical things for the listeners. Now, Claire, you were going to update us about your procedure, which we talked about in the previous session, but you couldn't have it in the end. Is that correct?
I had to postpone it because I wasn't very well. And I think when you're not very well, in fact, it took a friend to say to me, do you really want to have such an invasive treatment
Mm.
when you're not very well? And I hadn't even thought about that. And I think that's worth pointing out, because from my perspective, I was thinking, I knew I didn't have the big C. So I just was like, you know, this is a low level thing. I'm not infectious, but I need to get through this. I need to get this done. I had an awful lot going on. My life is very busy. And she was just like, if you're going to have any procedure up your backside, which involves, you know, a clear out, you know, enema, all that kind of stuff, you want to be in tip-top health because of the vulnerability of introducing foreign objects to that part of the body, because that's where the colon reservoir sits, the body's water system, etc. You've got to be really, really mindful. And so I was like, yes, actually, I will postpone this to another time when I'm in full fighting fit health, so that I don't compromise my immune system more than I need to just from having the invasive procedure in the first place. So 14th of November.
Okay, so maybe at a future session you can tell us how not scary it was, if slightly uncomfortable.
And how to basically, I'm just going to listen to meditative music, and as Phillipa said, do the breathing all the way through, because breathing is the way we do like meditation, you know, with the way we engage with spirit is slowing the breath right down, just kind of, you know, leaving the physical body in a rested, oxygenated state so it feels safe and secure, so we can go off and kind of delve into the corridors of our minds. So yeah, I'm all down with the breath work. I think with breath, and they have hypnobirthing and things like that, don't they? Because they recognize that if you can breathe through, properly get your balances right, then you can pretty much manage anything. What are you smiling like that for?
See, my friend who was a massage therapist offered hypnobirthing when I was having my son. No. I wanted the drugs. I mean, I believe in this stuff, but when it came to giving birth, I couldn't quite get there for that. So that was a hard no for me.
No.
Well, you know, would you do it differently now though?
Well, in hindsight, I ended up having a cesarean because, but I didn't know this at the time, my hip bones were kind of, something had happened with them, which a chiropractor fixed about 5 years later. So I was never ever going to have a natural birth. So it wouldn't have worked for me anyway. If I was to go back and do it again, which obviously I won't now, I'm way too old, maybe. But as it was my first time, it was a no. Give me the drugs.
It was a hard no.
Yeah. I suppose sorry, I have to talk about my birth experience. We can't help it, can we, when we get talking down this channel? But the first time I had two, so I've got two sons rather, I should say. So the first time I went in hospital, I had the epidural and it was horrendous. I can't even tell you how horrendous it was. I did manage to squirt it out the natural path, but
the baby,
yeah, that's
squirted out.
Okay. Continue. It felt like an alien, I must say. Anyway, but the second time after this horrific experience, when I literally thought I was going to die. So the second one, I was like, I'm not even going in hospital this time. I had him at home, and I have, you know, that experience of letting your body do what it knows how to do. I really did feel like I got to that place, and I only used homeopathy and the TENS machine. I had the TENS machine on the back of me, but second babies are generally easier to part with, although I did have two 9-pounders, so you know, not quite so easy, but but yeah, no, it's fascinating, Claire, what you're talking about, because I do get that now. And I never used to. I don't know if I didn't let myself, or if I was too young and, I don't know, in a different place in my life. But the idea that you can be transported by breathwork out of yourself, literally, and it doesn't have to feel like an out of, you know, it doesn't have to feel like you're going anywhere in particular. Just that it's really transcending the physical body is so possible with this breath work. If you open your mind to the idea that it's possible, and so enriching, and
yeah, and taking the breath down into the toes. In fact, that's an important point about our main subject, digestion issues.
Oh, yes.
The bowel and can twist and spasm. I've had that. You know, you can get all this cramping, etc. And if you are able to use your breath work, like some of the tips you were, you know, up here, this one, all of that kind of stuff, or as you see the twisting on the chair, then that's going to help a lot of people with constipation, because sometimes constipation and things like that are from stress. It's a stress response because you haven't got time literally to sit down on the toilet properly, or your body, you feel tense, so everything just goes and then nothing can flow. Whereas when you start breathing and oxygenating properly and you give your body permission, then things can leave with ease, as opposed to doing that. So I think breath is really important. In fact, I had to be retrained to sit on the toilet properly during one of my many fun experiences with the college team at University College London Hospital, when they were trying to work out what on earth was going on with me after I had my second son, because there was just so many complications. And yes, I remember the continence nurse telling me that you had to sit on the toilet with your feet flat in front of you and lean forward onto your knees like the thinking man, and breathe out, and think of your guts as squeezing a toothpaste tube, and that kind of squeeze release, and that, as opposed to just bearing down, which is what I had been doing and sometimes still do if I'm in a rush, because I just want to get off the toilet and get on to the next thing. And that just causes everything to kind of, you know, just pressure, and can cause damage. You know, I've had a rectocele, and well, that was from the birth. So yeah, it just the bowels are so integral and also relevant under Taurus and Earth, because they're kind of, you know, that's our Earth that we're moving through the bowels. So you might feel constipated this weekend, and if you want to know why, it's because you need to let go of your shit. And if you do Philippa's breathing exercises, and now Tamar, you can talk to us about journaling and mental health and letting those tears flow that Philippa tried to shelve, which can't always be shelved.
No, so although I very much appreciate all of Philippa's suggestions, they all sound amazing, we never don't tackle something because it's going to come out somewhere. So absolutely all of Philippa's suggestions, amazing. And different things are going to work for different people. So journaling is about getting the inside stuff out of you, so you're not carrying it and thinking it and processing it. You can also add in moments of joy or gratitude. So, or, you know, you might be ranting about what a shitty day you've had, but at the end of it, what was my moment of joy? And it might just been a really nice cup of coffee, or a stranger smiled at the supermarket and it lifted your spirits, or so, you know, and adding the joy. There's also the clearing of the toxic stuff. So we like to use the letter writing exercise. So if you've got an issue with a particular person and you can't have the conversation with that person, either they're not around, they're not going to listen, they're not even on the planet anymore, you can write the letter to them explaining how you feel, and you can get all that, whatever that feeling is. It can be good stuff, it can be bad stuff, it can be hatred, it can be bile, it can be stuff that you wouldn't ever want to actually say to them, and write it down, and then you kind of burn it safely. Please do it in your sink, don't burn a house down. And it's a real cathartic thing because you're getting it out of you, and then the burning of it is kind of a physical and metaphorical release of those feelings. So writing stuff down, if that's a medium that works for people, can be really powerful. You can do sort of role play if you have a therapist as well, where you have the conversation with the therapist as if they're the person. And again, it's the getting it out of you, which then comes back to the bowels and the moving it out. So we've kind of come full circle, haven't we, with this conversation, girls?
Well, it's very important. I'm just interested that you're burning stuff in your sink. You should be burning stuff in your cauldron. And what kind of sink you've got if you can burn stuff in it?
Yeah.
No, like a white, what are the white ones? The
A white enamel one.
enamel one, yeah. You set fire to stuff over the sink, and so you can drop it, so you're not burning it. I haven't got a cauldron. I need to get a cauldron.
You do? Well, I would burn stuff outside because I wouldn't want to set the smoke alarms off.
I kind of like the smell, you know. Shut the door to the smoke alarm. I like the smell of it. Because when you're burning, it doesn't always completely burn through. And to me, I don't want that written evidence in the world. I need to make sure it's completely gone, so I can make sure it's gone and keep reburning until it's gone. And then I clear the ashes and bury them in the garden. Or away from the property if it's something I'm trying to get rid of. Which I've recently learned. You bury in the garden for things you're bringing in, you bury away from the house for things you're getting rid of.
That's really interesting, like a poo bag of spell that you're basically getting rid of off site.
Yeah. If it's something you're trying to lose, yeah, you don't bury it near your house.
But it's interesting because we can't lose it anyway, because it will still be somewhere in the world and it still has an energetic connection to you. So it's this whole business of we think we're original, we're not, and we think we can get rid of things and we can't.
No, but I think it's about returning it to the earth, isn't it? But if you're doing it on your property, it's close.
I get it.
Most of the things you bring in it, yeah.
I think it's really, I've never thought about it that way before, Tamar, so I'm just absorbing that and working through it. I've got a full moon, I'm Taurus moon, so this is my moon as well, so it takes me a while to work out what I think.
Yeah.
What am I? Do you know what I am?
What am I? I'd have to look it up.
Oh, you'd have to look it up. You need to keep this stuff in your head, Claire.
I know, how do you not know?
Hundreds of people's astrology charts,
No,
all of the
just us two.
position.
Oh, yeah, it's only us two.
Just know us off by heart, please.
Okay, I will make sure next time we meet I have your charts readily to hand. Well, I can look at them now. Honestly, demanding.
I'll have written it down, but I can never remember. It's like I remember the rising sign, I know my birth sign, but it's what's your sun, what's your moon, what's your quarter. I can't be.
Okay, set yourselves up an account with astro.com. Then you've got it on your phone.
Oh, okay.
And you go to horoscope drawings, like you get free horoscope drawings. Come on. Don't know what the phone.
And will that tell us and we can refer to it regularly then?
That will, yes. So basically you have your own account. This is the one I use astro.com. And you basically, yeah, you can look up. So every time I give astrological information, hang on, birth. Let's have a look what this gives me. So Philippa's moon is in Pisces.
Oh, is that?
And Tamar, your moon. So interesting. Your moon is in Leo.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I must have known it somewhere. It was in there somewhere.
Leo.
Because I often see TikToks about, well, depending on where your placement is for this, and I scroll past because I go, I don't know where it is. I just. So,
And yet I have done your chart, and you do
have a chart, but that's on my computer downstairs, and I'm probably looking at it something upstairs, and it's like, oh, it's too far away.
Take a photo of it and put it on your phone, and then you've got it. You could have it as your screensaver on your phone. And then you've got it there. I mean, if you put it on astro.com, the good thing is that you can keep asking for the transit, so it'll give you the updates. So when I'm saying something like check which house this lunar eclipse is occurring in, like, let's have a look at that. So your lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house of work.
It's me you're talking about.
Mind you, no, it'll be around there. It'll be your 7th house of relationships. That's where
smiling. Or I could move, like Philippa has said, I've got to move, and I could come downstairs and look at it. Stop being lazy.
Yeah, and then Philippa, for you, it's going to be in the 12th house of the hidden part of you. So,
and that lines up, doesn't it? Because you said this is all about the hidden stuff that you've buried, and
well,
Philippa, big weekend for you.
I don't know that I've said I've buried stuff, but no, I mean there is stuff that I've buried, but yeah, I don't mean
your attitude is just like move on. Is that I don't want to feel this.
No people, just stuff. Yeah, no, I think the trauma that I had when my brother died when I was 17, and then my son with cancer. I read about, the fact that you can just so hide that away because it's so painful, and and that yeah. So clearly, and I know I've done that. I know I did that. But anyway, we won't talk about that now because that would take us a whole nother 40 minutes at least to get through. But
it's important to note that if you bury it down, it will come out in another way. So physical health issues, relationship issues, it always comes out somehow.
Yeah, well, we'll see when are we coming again? In 2 weeks, is
In
it?
2 weeks' times, it's every 2 weeks. So we're either on a new moon or a full moon.
Oh, right. That
So we've
makes
timed
sense.
it, yeah, so that we're always telling people at the beginning of stuff or when stuff has culminated. Basically, that's the idea behind
Yeah.
this.
Well,
And we'll
I tell
pick
you
that
what.
up in a future one.
Yeah, I tell you what, well, I'll think about this over the next couple of weeks, journaling and burning it. I've never thought about burning it because sometimes you're right, you don't want to write it down and then risk somebody digging and finding it. So, so that's a good
Especially if it's a
idea.
letter to someone and if something happens to you and they're going through your paperwork and go, oh, they never sent this letter. Let me send it for them.
Yeah, we don't want that. So, well, anyway, I have to go, everybody. I've got people to see, things to do. So thank you for
Very
being
nice
here.
to see you both. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you all again in a couple of weeks.
Oh, I need to stop this.
You're supposed to end the thing, yes.
We're all sat here like...
Right, I will say goodbye as well, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for grief and constipation.
Joy.